We can't just blame computers and emails, of course, for this increased atmosphere of litigiousness. What else, in your mind, is leading to this rather more, I suppose, sad state of affairs that we see now from time to time?
I think it's money, 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 money. When I first started, I couldn't believe how passionate the barristers on the floor were about the law. It was more the law, and then I'd have to say sometimes, because in those days we used to get a brief which was turned over with the pink tape, and I'd get a brief to go back and I'd notice it marked, and they used to write on that brief, settled or, verdict for the defendant for such and such. And there used to be the little memo fees just folded in on the pink tape. And I said, look, I forgot. Sorry, Paul. I took it back, and they said, I better do a memo fees. Now, the first thing they do is, which is fair enough because everybody's to pay their expenses, but it was more the law than the fees. Now I think that's not the law's fault. It's the whole community. If you look at right across accountancy, if you look at anything, people, it's more expensive to do anything. So you've got to have that cash flow.
If I could paraphrase Oscar Wilde, is the price of a barrister commensurate with the value of a barrister?
Yes. I think definitely yes. I'll give you an instance. A big takeover. So the takeover is between two major companies in Australia. The barrister gets asked for advice on the legislation. The barrister does the advice, which might take him or she 3 days. The deal may involve tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars. The barrister sends a fee for $40,000. The merchant banker that's putting the deal together gets a fee for tens of millions. The hardest thing to do is what the barrister did, to make sure the legislation is correct, to make sure everything's being done properly by the law. The other entity is making sure the deal's put together, and that is, in my opinion, an easier task than what the barrister has to go through. He or she has to check everything, recent legislation, past legislation, and they send a fee for, say, $60,000 on a deal that's going to be hundreds of millions. So I think, by and large, yes, for big corporations in takeovers, the barrister's fees are well under.
And yet it's interesting you say that, Paul, because I've interviewed economists who describe, dare I say it, barristers as transaction costs. Clearly you don't share that because you're saying that view, because you're saying in the sense that if without those qualities of judgment, who knows where that deal would have gone.
That's correct. And the deal might have gone through, and then in years to come it could have been unwound because it's not constitutional. It's not, the legislation didn't really allow that deal to happen. So, no, I disagree. I think, and, you hear this, the only people that are...
the winners are the lawyers.
You hear it all the time. But, it's... but then they do tend to forget that they say the law is only for the rich. But that is not correct. The law is for everyone because people on this floor, on all the floors I work, from time to time do so much pro bono. And that goes unheard of. And they don't do it for recognition. They do it if the person needs, they can't do it for 6 months because they couldn't live. But, the top barristers all do pro bono, and which is kept very quiet. So I disagree with that. I think the bar as a whole is a fantastic institution because it looks after basically everyone.